Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today it is week 17 of the Margaret Miller Collage Weekly Prompts. The prompts this week are something ornate, a bottle or glass, an herb or fragrant plant, a line from a poem or a song, a piece of ribbon, and the bonus is a label. I have these printables from Notable Ink, which are new to me. I knew of the maker, but I hadn't followed her in a long time. And my friend Desiree told me I had to go check her out for all her Zentangle stuff. And she has these lovely printables in her shop. Again, that's Notable Ink. And I really wanted to use them because to me they're very ornate. And I thought this bunch of flowers would be perfect for a fragrant plant. I see a rose bloom in there. And you guys know I have my Oklahoma roses. I love the way those smell. So I am going to take this and I will color it up with my watercolors. And I'm not going to show you the totality of every step today because there were a number of steps, and this collage was really interesting because I tried it was kind of silly looking back, but I was going to incorporate like a jar of jelly beans and do, you guessed it, another tablescape, and I was just trying to go different ways with it, and they weren't really working. But then I do love the end result. So I guess that's all that matters, right? Okay, so yes, I watercolored this up with my quinacridone palette. And this is like quinacridone coral. I just love it so much. And then the other was like lemon yellow. Doesn't really matter. I'm watercoloring and just kind of making all of this bouquet happen here, and then we're going to jump into the vase. So it says a bottle or a glass, and let's just go with the fact that this is a glass vase, okay? Because honestly, when I was sketching it out and the colors that I chose, this was at a time when I was still thinking about putting the jar of jelly beans on the table, and so I was really kind of going more for a pottery look here, and I do think that that's what I got. It very much reminds me of like a handmade or a hand-thrown pottery piece, and how a lot of times, I don't know why, but potters choose cream and blue with like blue striations, and so I was going for kind of that typical pottery look here anyways, but we're gonna have to pretend like this is glass because otherwise I would have missed it. Like I say, it took on different forms. So I just sketched that out. I'm erasing my sketch lines, and then I'm going to bring in my alcohol markers, and I'm just going to draw random stripes throughout the piece. I first go in with my darkest blue, and yes, I test it on a scrap piece of paper just to see how it's going to come out first. I always recommend that. And I'm giving these lines obviously like a curve like the vase would have, and now I'm going in with a lighter color, testing, okay, and then I'm smoothing out those lines, and I really think that made a big difference in the overall like finished look of this piece, and I do really like it. Okay, so now that that's done, I had this ribbon, so I'm gonna tie a piece of ribbon around the top of the vase, which I actually really like to do. Okay, so we have like 20 different rose bushes in our yard, between our front and our backyard, and I love we always have tons, just bukus of roses, so I have them in jars. I like to have a fresh bouquet in the house. And a lot of times I will tie like a ribbon around the top of the vase, or I'll save jars if I think they're interesting and use those, and then tie like tulle ribbon around the top or whatever. So this is very kindred to the way I decorate. And now I have my little bouquet in there. I struggled with this bouquet too, and I should have gone back to Notable Ink and looked at the examples, because she has some gorgeous examples of how she used these printables. And I should have gone back and looked at it closer, because I was just kind of struggling. I ended up kind of dissecting it and making it my own, cutting that flower apart, repiecing it together in a way that made sense to my eye. But I could have just been a little off that day. That is also a possibility. I think, though, that the printables are gorgeous. Now, she does have, an angel policy of absolutely no commercial use. So you can't use it to make greeting cards, unless you're giving them away. So that is something to keep in mind. As someone who sells a lot in craft fairs, but I also donate a lot, I don't know. I prefer when you can at least make something out of a printable and sell that thing. Of course, I totally understand how you should never sell or share the files by themselves or printed out copies of the files. I sell printables. I totally get that. But, I do prefer when places allow you to make things by hand and sell those things. So I'm exiting the soapbox. Okay, here we go. I've got my light and fluffy paste here, and I am just creating some like really rough drywall, if you will. And I love it. I absolutely love. It's very subtle here. I'll try to bring it up and show you, but I truly love this. It reminds me of like stucco, and I've always loved stucco houses and stucco walls. I just think they look beautiful. I don't know. My heart likes them. Okay, so this is another one of the printables, and I'm just going to take it and turn this into my tablecloth. I love tablecloths, y'all. Like, I have a number of them, and anytime I have a party, like we had a party for my daughter last weekend, every table has a beautiful cloth on it. It just makes me happy. So I'm turning this into a tablecloth, and I went back in with that same quinacridone coral color, and then I added titanium buff to it. All of these colors here that are in this palette are all Daniel Smith, and it's a palette that I curated for myself, and I've been using it a lot. I wanted a very rich palette that was good for mixing, and it certainly is. I do have a lot of fun mixing these colors, but I'm also a fan of watercolors that just come in 50 different colors and you don't have to mix. But as far as like learning color theory, I think if you grab a basic watercolor palette, it's the best way to learn all the ways you mix to get different colors. So I'm getting the sloppiest version of watercoloring on here as possible. I just want it to look texturized, and I'm going to tear off the edges and make it fit on my paper. So I didn't want too much of the outline on the edges, like the plane. I wanted the circles to be pretty close, almost bleeding off the edges of this tablecloth. And so I do trim down all of the sides. Overall, this collage is very simple. Really, but I went through about 17 hoops to get there. Does that ever happen to you guys? I'm sure it does. Some things just go that way. So now I'm bringing out my Folk Art matte acrylic paint, and I really love this stuff too, and I thought this was the perfect stucco color to use. And I am not trying to get a perfect coverage or blend here. So I'm just using my silicone brush that I used for this, putting the paste down. And I'm going back and just really sloppily putting this in there. I still want to capture, I'm dragging a little bit of that dry brush across the texture because I do want to capture that across the page. And I'm loving this already. Now I feel like everything's coming together. So, I always kind of film and edit so that you can see the process. So like I put my paste on my paper, then I set that to the side, and I worked on my tablecloth, getting it watercolored. Then I put that to the side, checked my paste was dry. So then I went back, I did the acrylic paint, put that over my paste, allowing my tablecloth to dry so that I could glue it down and get it adhered well. But before I do that, because this is completely dry, I'm going to go in with this Dollar Tree metallic. This is like the rose gold, I believe, color. I love these so much. These metallic pens. And I'm just filling in some of the details. I go and fill in some of the details around in all of these circles. But I think the thing that really made this tablecloth come together was the gold metallic pen, again from the Dollar Tree, and adding these stripes really started to make it look more like a textile, and I think it brought it all together. It made it look more uniform, like a cohesive piece than a piece of paper with floating circles, maybe the way it was potentially coming across to you guys. But this to me really looks like more like a tablecloth now, one I would put on my table. Okay, so All You Need Is Love was the line from a poem or a song that I was thinking of. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe this could look like, the vinyl decals that some people put on their walls. I was thinking, yeah, maybe that's kind of, if I put it up there and use a black Sharpie, maybe it can kind of look like that. I hated it right away. So luckily, I've been a card maker for years, and I know that you can cover up just about anything. So I'm not going to stress about it. I did keep trying, going like, maybe if I get a cleaner look to it, I'll like it better. But no, I don't like it. And that's okay. I'm going to proceed. I'm not giving up. I'm going to glue down my vase of flowers, and we're just going to keep going. I thought of a book on my shelf. I'm telling you guys, this is such a funny day. Okay, so I thought of this book on my shelf that I recently picked up from the thrift store. And this picture of this lady just felt like she really captured my feelings. And I loved the quote on the back, but I knew I was going to cut into it. And I really felt like she just, I don't know, something about her posture, something about the mood of this painting, everything kind of captured exactly how I felt at this time in making this collage. So she had to go on the wall. She's going to be my wall painting, which is going to cover up the All You Need Is Love thing. Okay, so I'm just trying to eyeball it, cut her down to the right size, and get her on the wall stat, because that lettering is driving me crazy. So I'm just trimming her up. And here's the funny thing. I got to looking more closely at the book, and I fell in love with the book. And then I felt bad that I had cut a page out of it. If a lot of you are wondering, why does Betty Penny always use so many printables? Because I don't feel bad. I can go back and reprint them over and over and over again. But when I tear up a book, I sometimes feel bad. I rebought the book. I found it on Thrift's Books. on thriftbooks.com, and I went and bought another copy. So now I can cut this one up. And I really liked, because of the mood I was in, by the time I got to this point, I really liked this saying. And I knew if I folded it up and put it on the table like a card, like a greeting card, I could put, like a label on it, which I still need. It says, "Life's under no obligation to give us what we expect," from Margaret Mitchell, an American writer. It fit the mood, you guys. So then I made up a little label to put on it, and I'm addressing it to myself as a reminder. And I think that's how art is. Like, art is under no obligation to give us what we expect. And that is okay, because it is about the journey. And sometimes we can get frustrated when we're making the art. But I think that this collage is a good example of when you just keep pressing through. And I just keep following my intuition, and I don't settle until I know I have something I like. And I really like this. I don't have stucco walls here at my home, but otherwise it looks like something that could be like a snapshot of me and my home. I hope you enjoyed this. And me sharing what the journey was like making it. Definitely check out the hashtag and see what other people are making. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.